Welcome to the podcast, A Drink with Derek. Follow comedian Derek Richards on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to his YouTube channel and watch all episodes of the podcast. Now grab a drink and join your host, Derek Richards.
Welcome, Derek Richards here in Las Vegas. Welcome to the podcast, A Drink with Derek. Thanks for hanging out with me here today. We've got a fantastic show, as always. And I want to mention before I go any further, I was drinking this, I had this coffee mug in the last episode, and somebody had shot me a text, and they go, "What the hell's written on the coffee mug?" So people get so fixated on one thing. And so it says creativity is caged by political correctness, and I could not agree with that anymore. So that's what's written on the coffee mug. Anyhow, welcome to the show. Huge thanks to our sponsor, VegasSportsAdvantage.com. If you're going to bet sports, you got to go ahead and connect with these guys. They do all the research. They know everything. They analyze numbers. They know who's playing. They got the injury reports. They know the weather forecast. And if you're betting sports, you need to know that. And so these guys do the legwork. VegasSportsAdvantage.com. Go on their website, and any package that you buy, type in the promo code Derek35. You don't need to buy a big package. Start off with something small if you want to, but type in the promo code Derek35 and you get 35% off any package that you buy if you're going to be betting any kind of sports. And perfect time of year to be doing it. NFL playoffs. You got hockey going. You got basketball cranking up. They also do MMA. They do golf. They're probably going to bet how long Ghislaine Maxwell lasts in prison until she, quote unquote, accidentally hangs herself. But those guys are great. Also, grab my copy of my album, Double Down. Available on Amazon, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you download your comedy and your audio enjoyment. And the Irish Comedy Tour is cranking up here, too, in March. TheIrishComedyTour.com is the website. See our special on Amazon Prime. Also, the other outlets that are there. Vudu, you got Dish, iTunes, Vimeo, Xbox. I didn't even know you could watch something on Xbox, but apparently you can. But the IrishComedyTour.com, starting off in Old Saybrook, Connecticut on March the 3rd, and then March 4th in Schenectady, New York, and then Peekskill, and then down to Florida in the Northeast. Again, the IrishComedyTour.com. All right, now let's get to my guest here today. Comedian. He is originally from Long Island, New York. He spent time in the Navy, where he actually started doing comedy. In Norfolk, Virginia area. He has a podcast called the Talking Dicks Comedy Podcast with fellow comic Al Ducharme. You've seen him on VH1 Stand-Up Spotlight, A&E's Even at the Improv. And he is the author of the book called How About a Hand for the Last Guy. He is here today with us, comedian Al Romas on A Drink with Derek.
All right. I'm drinking beer. Anybody drinking beer tonight? Why not, right? Let's drink up on a Wednesday night. I bought beer when I got into town. This is actually true. I was at a little liquor store, and this kid came in, college-age kid, walked in. He said, "Do you have anything cheaper than Old Milwaukee?" The guy's like, "Yeah, we have some Bavarian elk piss in a bottle. Do you want it?" Oh. He's like, "You got that in a can?" Oh, dude. Drove down from Tampa today, and yeah, it was raining, and people are riding motorcycles. I love that without a helmet. That's the law, right? No helmet? No helmet to ride a motorcycle. Isn't that interesting? No helmet to ride a motorcycle, but a helmet on a bicycle. Figure that out. 2 miles an hour, we'd like a helmet on you. 85, go for it. We don't give a shit. Yeah, it's a sunshine state, and your head is split all over I-4, but it's tan. Look how good it looks going up to Disney. A little part of you lives on. Is this like Port Charlotte, Sex in the City right here? What's going on here? What's happening here? Are you celebrating anything? You're just out. Just out. Ladies' night out. I like how women do that. Men don't do that. The women over there, they go out. We're going out. It's ladies' night out. You ever see a bunch of guys out together? It's losers' night out. It sucks. We don't want to be together. We're forced to be. Guys never start the evening calling each other, "Bob, me and you, no women, what do you think?" "I think you're a big homo. Don't call me again." What is there to... I'm not homophobic. Don't be afraid. A little. I don't know. I can't chew that gum that squirts. I don't blame you leaving on that joke, sir. I'd walk out, too. I'd get the hell out of here, too, if I was you. That's ridiculous. Gum squirting jokes here in Port Charlotte in a big castle. Where you going, sir? That's the weirdest walk around I've ever seen. Where the hell you gonna go meet a friend now? What happened there? You started over there. I thought you were going to the bathroom. I gotta go comment to my friend about that joke right now.
Bavarian elk piss.
Yes, sir.
Should be the name of your next album. What's happening, man?
I'm good, Derek. Good to see you. How are you?
Good to see you as well, man. It's been way too long. You've had a crazy run coming out of COVID. We'll get to that here in a little bit. But no, welcome to the podcast. I appreciate you being here. Great. You're at your place in Tampa. Originally from Long Island, New York. I got to ask you this because you're obviously a New Yorker. Yankees or Mets?
Yankees, Giants, Knicks, and Rangers. I go all the city teams. I didn't go with the Long Island Mets, Islanders, Nets. That I went all city teams, and it was good. It was a good run, but they all suck now. So we can do.
You can't complain about the Yankees. That'll straighten itself out quickly. Your favorite New York comedy clubs, club or clubs?
Well, when I was in the city, the Cellar was not what it is now. It was during a lull. Right. So I was passed at the Cellar, and I was doing shows in front of 8 people. So I thought, well, this is a big deal. Like, the Comedy Cellar sucks. But then you look, now it's doing great. But Stand Up New York was where I first got passed, and that to me was the best on the West Side. My first show ever at Stand Up New York, I get passed on a Wednesday, and the owner asked, would you like to work the weekend and host? I said, sure, of course. And the first weekend I did, it was with Ray Romano, Joel Bolster, and Jon Stewart. Those were the other 3 comics, and me, who's a year out of the Navy, and have no idea what I'm doing. And just watching these guys work for 5 or 6 shows was amazing. It was like one of the best weekends in comedy, and happened to be my first weekend.
Oh my God! Now you started coming out of the Navy. First off, what got you into the Navy in the first place? Was this just coming out of high school? You're like, you know what? I have got to get out of the house.
Well, yeah, but 3 years later, I went to college on Long Island, and I had no business in college. No business in college, and I didn't know what the fuck I'm doing. Ridiculous. So I joined the radio station, and I had a lot of fun there and friends, and I had a great time, but that's all I would do. I would just work at the radio station, and I had shows, my own shows, and but I would never go to class. And then by the 3rd year, it's like, well, what am I doing here? I'm on the radio, but this is a big waste of money, and I'm not going to ever graduate. And I was very spontaneous at that age. I was 21 or 2, and 20, I don't know what I was, 22 maybe. And a friend of mine was in the Navy, and he used to write me letters from the Navy. I'm in the Philippines, I'm on the blah, 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 I'm in Europe. And I go, that sounds awesome. And I literally just drove to a recruiting office and joined the Navy. And that was it. I just went home. I told my parents I joined the Navy. I'm out of college now, and I'm going to San Diego for boot camp. And 6 weeks later, I had my head shaved, and I was marching around, and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, man. It was crazy when I look back, but it was also a great experience. The 4 years, I don't regret it, but I was never going to be any military guy or career. It was not a dream or anything. It was just fucking spontaneous thing. I'll go do it, And that's.
I want to travel. I want to travel and go to the Philippines. This sounds badass.
Yeah, I didn't know you could buy a plane ticket and go places. I thought you have to join the Navy, and and I went from being in the radio station, drinking and smoking and long hair, and then literally walking around San Diego in boot camp, being yelled at by these maniacs with a shaved head, and it was insane, man. Really, it was fucking nuts.
How'd your parents react to that? Do you come from a big family? Did you just kind of get lost in the shuffle with a bunch of brothers and sisters, and they went, all right, whatever?
One younger sister, and
And
They were
that's it.
shocked. They were just shocked. They were like, "What are you doing? Like, what are you out of your mind?" And I was like, "I don't know. I think it'll be fun. I don't know. Could be a good time." And that's all my thinking again.
So
It
you
was
get
great.
so you're in the Navy, and you're
Yeah.
now. Did you get a chance to travel, or was it, or did you end up
Yeah.
getting screwed, and you ended up just getting stuck in one camp or one
Well,
base?
the first 2 years were great. I had shore duty in Norfolk, so it was like we worked 12 on, 12 off, and then had 72 hours off, and then 96 hours off. So I mean, it was like a vacation. It was so great. But then the final 2 years, I went to a ship. I went to the USS Guam, which is an old rust bucket helicopter carrier, and that was 2 years of I wouldn't say hell, but it was tough, really tough. And but that's when I started thinking. I always liked comedy. I just didn't know how to do it. I never, went back. You remember the no internet, no books. There was, how do you become a
Oh
comedian?
yeah.
Like how do you do it? I don't know how to do it. And I remember on Long Island, I was thinking about it. I told my mother, I go, I really like to be a comedian. I go, how do you do it? And she was the one. She said, well, you should go to a comedy club and watch and see, what these guys are doing and meet them. And that was like actually very good advice. I mean, it's kind of the only way. People still ask, how do you do it? I say, that's the only, you got to go to an open mic and you got to talk to guys and watch the show and, fucking figure it out. I mean, there's really no trick or secret. But then when I was in the Navy, I thought, I'd like to do comedy again, but where? And then there was a bar in Norfolk that hosted an open mic night. And I went down there and they had 5 comedians, 5 guys doing comedy in Norfolk. And I was able to, get on the list and fuck around for 2 years. So it was a good experience because 5 guys, we needed to fill a lot of time. So if I started in New York, you get 3 minutes, but in Norfolk, I was getting whatever I wanted. I mean, you want to fill up time, go ahead, get up there. So,
Now, which is
good
huge.
experience to start.
Yeah, that's definitely a different path to take for a New Yorker. For you to end up being thrust into that into Norfolk, Virginia, and then going up and doing these shows at these open mics over there. Which, by the way, your ship, I was going to say your ship, the USS Guam, now has a Carnival Cruise Lines logo on the side of it.
Yeah,
it's one of their brand new ships.
We'll go do 22 shows in 2 days. I think the sleeping arrangements were nicer on the Guam than they are on Carnival.
I'm sure they are.
Oh.
I am sure they are. That you are. Well, we'll get to the ship stuff here in a second. But so you're going in. So you're in Norfolk, Virginia, and as you had written in your it was in your bio. You said you're being thrust into this environment of rowdy college students, rowdy sailors, sunburnt tourists. How do you think that ended up helping you develop your act?
It helped me develop like a stage presence because these guys, it was Old Dominion students coming over to drink at a place was called Friar Tuck's. So they're just drinking. They don't want to hear comedy, but it's 1987. Comedy's kind of, so they're like, all right, we'll listen a little bit if you're good. Then there were Navy guys. They were just there to drink and try to get laid and fight. And then there's some touristy. So it's like this weird mix. And then at 11 o'clock, they would give out free tacos. If you made it through the comedy, you got free tacos. So that was the goal. That was the goal of the audience, to just hang in there for free tacos. And beer was like $2 a pitcher or some shit. So it was great in the idea that I got to do a ton of time. And then when I got out of the Navy, the Thorogood Inn in Virginia Beach, I would MC there quite a bit and meet traveling road comics who, you got to talk to. And so I did that another 2 years. And then some of those New York guys were like, hey, you should come back to New York, and told me about clubs and stuff. So, but those years, I mean, again, you can't, like, I don't, when guys ask, how do you start? I mean, that was one of the great ways to start. Every Tuesday night, I got to do, 15, 20, 25, whatever. As long as you could stay up there and have time, they were happy with it, So I look at it as
no, which is great. Well, and even, you know, the clubs that you do today, I mean, I remember when I was starting off as well, going to comedy clubs and watching, and I was, you know, house MC at this gig in Kalamazoo, Michigan. But it was just like college, sitting back there and just watching the different acts. And you don't, to me, I don't know if you just don't see that. It seems like when newer talent wants to come out to a comedy club, they want to sit in the back and talk to their friends. And then they may occasionally watch whatever you're doing, but they don't give a shit. And they just go ahead and then they go up and do their 3 minutes, grab their backpack full of shitty jokes, their little Starbucks cup that's, you know, in the eco-friendly aluminum container because you're a douche. And then then they drop it on the way out and it goes clankety, 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 clank, and then they leave. And they don't even watch the other act. And I always say that no matter who you watch, whether you like their act or not, they're on stage for a reason. And you're going to learn something no matter what.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just, but you're right about today. Like, nobody watches the shows and they're all just in their own world and whatever, you know, it's like, they don't care. It's like, okay, that's fine. But when I would watch it, I'd go to the Thorogood Inn in Virginia Beach. I was getting out of the Navy. I'd go every weekend and watch and just I was fascinated by how the middle act usually was a road guy and the headliner was a New York or LA guy. Now they might have had more credits, but almost 7 out of 10 times the road middle act was better because he knows he's in every situation. He's a killer. And the New York LA guy, a little more laid back. They were just kind of fucking around in Virginia Beach. And it's like, you can't follow this guy. You know what I mean? So you realize what the road can do. And then, you know, I was like, I got to get on the road. That was my thing. I got to get on the road because I would talk to these middle acts, you know, those guys, they live in their car and they have clothes, like a rail in the back with shirts hanging from it. And they're just like, the road dog. And I was young enough to think that looked great. I wanted that. You know, that looked like that's the life.
The glamour involved in this business. What is the best encouragement or advice? Who do you remember any great encouragement or advice that anybody gave you when you were doing this?
Well, I remember early on when I got to New York, I got to work with Seinfeld, and he was right. He had just filmed the pilot for the Seinfeld show, but he'd come back. He was at Bananas in New Jersey, and they asked, I was very clean. I only worked clean at that time. And they asked me would I open for him, and I said, yeah, I'd love to. And I remember just hanging out with him we did 6 shows, and he had a lot of advice that I didn't end up taking. You know, he was like, you know, don't get married. Don't get married. You got to stay single. You got to be like, you know, you can't do shit. Can't go to a wedding on Sunday. You got to fucking work. You know what I mean? Like, and I was like, yeah. And then I got married like 4 months later, you know, I mean, so that was actually very good advice though. I just didn't listen to it, you know, but he was like, well, it was like, his advice was like the old Rodney advice about you got to eat, drink, sleep, fuck, comedy. That's it. And I was like, yeah, but I'm going to get married and buy a house and I'll be able to do both those things. And then you realize, no, he was right. And then when I was on the road, going on the road a lot, there was an agent in New York who told me I should stop the road, get a day job and work the city at night every night. That's how you do it. And I was like, fuck that. I'm going on the road. And that would have been, actually, when you look back, that's great advice. I mean, if you look at the guys who really are big now, they were all these guys who they were available in the city every night. They never went on the road, you know, and they just made up their act so they could get on Letterman. And like, they had a bigger picture where my mind was more like, oh, $800 in Pennsylvania, I'm going, you know. And it was, when you look back, that's not the right way to go, but what are you going to do? You know, I thought it was fun at the time.
Well, yeah. And now when you started off, you talked about, you know, you were drinking in college and, you know, you're in the Navy, and that obviously certainly lends itself to a big party atmosphere, and then doing the open mics at the club in Norfolk, Virginia. Now, when you were getting out on the road and doing stuff, I mean, because there's some great drunken party stories from New York comics that I've talked to, from, you know, Bob Levy to Rich Voss. I mean, Voss coming back from a gig one time, and him and the other comic made like 2 stops to pick up drugs, and the other comic in the car was freaking out, going, "What are you guys doing?" They're driving into this like horrifically bad neighborhood to grab some coke, and in this other neighborhood to get something else. And the comic that was in the car freaking out was a young guy, David Spade, which is hilarious.
I have a story.
And then of course, and then you got Bob Levy, who's Bob Levy. He talks about eating blue cheese off out of a chick's ass crack. So it's like
I remember those shows. I was on a million of those Bob Levy shows in the '90s, so I've seen it. There was always a lot of nudity at the end of the show. There was always someone naked, or someone would drop their pants, and it was wild. But this is all it was all and you could do anything you wanted. It was fun. But those were wild shows. Levy in New Jersey with Florentine and, Voss and Jim Norton. I mean, these were wild fucking shows, man. And I was the Long Island guy joining these Jersey maniacs. And it was crazy. Even for me, when I came out of the Navy and college, and this was wild shit, man. But it was so funny. I mean, some of those shows were just the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. Which you can never do.
It's a riot. I mean, now, oh God, no! Are you kidding me? I mean, we should try to start that up again, but just tell everybody, listen, like now you go to a Chappelle concert and you got to take your phone and put it in that sealable bag and leave it in a locker, and you can come in. It's like anything that can record anything needs to be left behind because our society.
It would pack them in.
No way.
People want that though. It would be wild. I mean, you can't do it, but I mean, no way. It's not like things aren't funny. People would love it. It was so outrageous and wild, and now that people go, you can't do that now. Well, you could if people went in knowing that it's going to be fun, and we're not recording it, or we're not anyone's going to get upset, but it's going to be fun, and there's still an audience for it. I mean, God, that was I mean, really the best shows I've seen, but. I have a story similar to that, not with drugs involved, with Spade, Young, but I was at the early on the Lake Ontario Playhouse. Did you ever work there, upstate New York?
I had heard of it. I had not worked there, but I had heard of it.
Yeah, it was up in upstate New York, and it was a little theater, but it was nice. And but anyway, I'm working there that weekend, my first time there, and it's one of those where you do Thursday night, and it went fine. It was good. And then the owner is one of these guys. He's like, "Hey, do you drink?" And I go, "Yeah, sure." So I sit and drink with him, and we're drinking and just bullshitting. And I don't know. It's 4 a.m. And it's one of those nights. It's 4 a.m. And he's so hammered. He goes, "Hey, by the way, did I tell you have radio?" I go, "What? What time's radio?" And he goes, The bartender will pick you up at 6:30. I go, fucking 2 hours from now. I'm doing radio. I'm like, I can't even speak. I have no words. What? Yeah. So luckily I came up with. I just thought because the middle act had a guitar, and he's like 17, but he's like eager to do anything. He's such a nice kid. So I said, why don't we get the middle act to come with us? Let me bring the middle act with me. And the guy's all drunk. I don't care. Whatever. Fuck it. I don't give a shit. Just promote the show. And, he's all drunk. And I call the middle act at 6:30 in the morning because we're in a condo above the theater. You have a couple of rooms. I mean, they built like a loft and have these rooms.
Sure.
So I call the middle act, and I wake him up at like 6, and I'm a little hammered going, "Hey, do radio with me? You want to do radio?" And he's like, yes. Oh, yes, sir. I'd love to. Yes, I want to be on the radio. Yes, sir. So he's dressed and ready. This kid showered. You know what I mean? And he's got like pressed shirt on. He's all excited. And I'm hammered. I fall into the car and I go, "You just do anything, please. Just you got to do the whole thing. I can't speak." And we get there, and he was great. He played guitar. He played his parodies and the whole thing. And then the end of the story is that kid, the 17-year-old kid, was Jimmy Fallon.
Wow.
There you go. Yeah.
Damn.
Little Jimmy
Jimmy
Fallon.
Now was he ever any one of those guys that that would go out and party with you and hang out and end up being in that situation with the owner, or what was that like with him?
I think, well, at that point he couldn't drink. He was 17. His mother dropped him off at the club, so he literally couldn't hang. I didn't know him later, but I had friends in New York who would hang out in certain bars, and they were saying he was a huge party. I think he still is. I mean, I think that's like one of the little NBC's, little dirty secrets. I think Jimmy's got a bit of a problem, and but likes to hang out and have fun. But at that time, he was a kid. I mean, literally, he looked like he was 12, and he was just a little clean-cut 17-year-old kid with a guitar, and he covered for me on radio beautifully. It was very thankful.
Man, saved your ass. You are shift gears here for a quick second. You're a huge Beatles fan.
Yes, sir.
Do you ever go and see these tribute bands? Does that annoy you? Or do you just go, you know what, I'm going to go see McCartney and I'm done. I'm not going to go see a Beatles tribute. Okay.
In the beginning, years and years, I used to go just for fun. But no, it's one of my big pet peeves, this idea that these four dummies can just go buy a Sgt. Pepper jacket and put a wig on and say they're the Beatles. It's fucking irritating. I hate it. I can't stand it. They should all die. I fucking hate them all. And, so no, I think your answer to that one is no, I don't enjoy a big Beatle tribute band.
Do you now? Tribute bands just annoy me on principle, just because there's. To me, I always say a tribute band is a cover band that was too lazy to buy more than one songbook. They just go to the music store and they're like, you know what? Here's a Van Halen songbook. You know what? Hey, let me get some black electrical tape and put it over my red guitar, and now you're Eddie Van Halen. Okay, cool. And now we're gonna do this. So I mean, I just whenever you see these. They pack CDs.
It. They sell CDs.
Yes, of them covering shit. which you can buy their version of Don't Stop Believin', or you can go on iTunes and pay $8 less and get the original.
Yes, and on the cruises, especially, they'd have these bands and a lot of tribute, and then I'd watch them sell their merch, T-shirts, CDs, and you go, what are you doing? This isn't the band. Mm-hmm. These are four people. I remember back when I was a kid, I was into the Doors, and I was like 18. I went to a bar, and they had a Doors band, L.A. Woman is playing, and I'm into them. I'm thinking, this guy's Jim Morrison. He's unbelievable. He's got leather pants. He's crawling around the ceiling on the rafters. And I go into the men's room during their break of their first set, and Jim's there at the urinal next to me. And I go, holy shit. I go, hey, man. I go, you guys are fucking great. I fucking love you guys. And he goes, oh, that's nice of you to say. And he hands me a card. And it's for he's a used car salesman. And I go, what the fuck is this? The whole thing just went out the window. Wait, you're not Jim Morrison? You're Bob, the car salesman? Oh, fuck.
The magic is ruined. It was like you were It's like you were in the room when the Gene Simmons tribute band, when the Gene Simmons guy in the Kiss tribute was like taking his makeup off, and you're like, well, this isn't fun now.
Yeah, and I've hung out with on a ship with one of the Beatle bands, and they go, meet us at the Schooner Bar at 11 o'clock or whatever, and I go to meet them. Well, they don't have their wigs on. I can't tell who's who. I mean, literally, they're just four guys. Nobody looks like anyone. Right. So you go, who are you? They're like, oh, we're over here. I'm like, oh, you guys are the Beatles? Oh, okay. Yeah. No. Horrible.
Yeah, exactly. Hang on. Which one of you is playing the left-handed bass?
Yeah, nobody. Nobody, sir. That's for sure.
Nobody. Please get away from me.
Yes.
Your podcast, Talking Dicks Comedy Podcast with Al Ducharme. This thing started off because I remember seeing this. This is before the world ended, back before the COVID, and you guys were doing a bunch of video shorts and stuff like that, which were hilarious. Find them online. You can see them on your Instagram page if people scroll back. And now it's it seems to have evolved into what it is now, the Talking Dicks comedy podcast. Because since I don't know what kind of an opportunity you guys ever get together and video anything anymore. So how did that start, and then how did it transition into what it is now?
I knew Al in New York, not really well, but we knew each other. And then I had moved to Florida. He had moved to LA, didn't see each other. Then we got booked on the Allure of the Seas, Royal Caribbean. So where we did the comedy club. And he travels with a little camera, he always wants to make little movies. So he asked me if I'd be interested in making one. I said, yeah, sure. We got 7 days here. Why not? And he goes, I have an idea for like detectives, 1954. They're dumb. I was like, great, let's try that. And we did it. We shot one, put it on Facebook, got a lot of views, did another one. He came to Tampa to get on a ship. We did another one. That went well. And we put him on Funny or Die. They got hundreds of thousands of views on Funny or Die. So we started doing them when basically he would get a ship out of Florida. He would come in a day or two early or stay a day or two afterwards. And we'd shoot one episode. It took about 2 days usually. And we had about 13 or 14 done. And then he was coming down in March of 2020 to film again. And that's when, COVID hit, no travel. And we were talking, and because we had like a small audience. So I didn't want to lose them. So then I thought, well, why don't we just do a podcast? But at the time, we just did a video Facebook, like a vlog where we would go on Facebook, talk for 15 minutes, bullshit, twice a week. And then that was going okay. And then we thought, let's get a regular pod going. So we've been on now on all the platforms, and it's going well. It's going very well. We got a Patreon. It's patreon.com/the2dicks. But the pod is the Talking Dicks. And then we had to put comedy podcast because we always run into issues with dicks. And I mean, it's just, we're trying to be like, it's not easy, man. It's not easy. Not easy. Not easy.
Just hearing you say that, it's like, okay, listen. All right, we got to add comedy podcast. We just can't put two dicks. Two dicks that's not our crowd.
No, and even when this is what detectives were called, dicks in the 50s. They were dicks.
Yeah.
Dick Tracy,
Yep.
Dicks, Private Dicks. But no one knows that. And it seems everyone who knew that is dead, I guess. So even I'm on a ship and you got a big crowd and then late show and they're like, what do you want me to say? I go, just say I have a podcast, Talking Dicks Comedy Podcast. And the cruise director will be like, well, I can't say that. And it's like, you can't, I'm going to go out there and say fuck every other word. You can't say Talking Dicks Comedy Podcast? Really? But they have a problem with it or they butcher it. So looking back, I think we might have named it something else, but it was originally just the short was The Two Dicks. And we're kind of stuck with it now as, we have to deal with it because Amazon, we wanted to put our shorts on Amazon. There's a problem with that whole thing. Dicks, what? Two dicks? It's just ridiculous.
People are so stupid. It cracks me up.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
I know. It's a crazy, stupid society that we're living in now. You have speaking of cruise ships, you just finished a run coming out of lockdown. Congratulations, by the way. I had heard because I was on. I think you were on for 5 months on the Harmony of the Seas with Royal Caribbean, if I'm not mistaken. Adventure. Okay, you're out for 5 months, and so explain to the audience here because I got my agent had said, hey, would you be interested in doing something like this? And I'm like, I don't mind going out for like 4 or 5 months. I can do that. What stopped me from even going forward, and I give you huge credit and any other comic, any other act, period, that was able to do this, the 2 weeks that you needed to be quarantined in your room. In other words, what I was told, and I don't know if that's what you ended up having to do, but it was 2 weeks in your room. You did not leave your room, period. You're in your cabin. They brought you your food. They did your laundry. That was it. What was that? So what was that experience like? Did you have to be quarantined in your room for 2 weeks?
2 weeks, but I tell you, man, it was the easiest 2 weeks of my life. I swear to God. I had a balcony.
Seriously.
I had a balcony.
Okay.
I smoked cigars. I'd get up, room service, breakfast delivered in the morning, ate breakfast, coffee on the balcony, cigar, looking at my phone, fucking around. Lunch, have some lunch, back on the balcony, another cigar, take a nap, knock on the door, dinner, another cigar, go to bed. It was fucking easy, man. It was really like nothing. It went like that. I swear to God. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the quarantine. I really did.
That's impressive because I was talking to people, afterwards about this, and I said, I live in a nice house here in Vegas, and I'm like, I don't like being in my house for an entire day, and I've got room to roam around.
Yeah.
So the fact that you were able to just kind of check your brain, I mean, was there anything so that 2 weeks in, so you obviously you couldn't communicate or even really hang with any other person, even on your floor, could you or no?
Couldn't leave the room. Meals delivered to the door. Guys all in a hazmat suit. You put the food back outside when you're done. Food goes in a bag. Styrofoam goes in a different bag. Everything was locked down, man. But I mean, if I didn't have internet and didn't have a phone, if it was like old, then no, I don't think I could do. No, I don't think I could do it or would have done it.
No.
If I didn't have a balcony, I don't think I could have done it. That was huge. Right. The balcony. In fact, when you started the pod, when you held up that coffee mug, that was Juggy, and
Juggies, yeah,
is the smallest bar in St. Martin. There it is. He also sells cigars, and he was nice enough to deliver a box of about 75 cigars to me while the ship was docked in St. Martin. So that also helped me get through my quarantine. But and then when we came out of quarantine, the ship didn't have passengers for a full month. So we were sailing from St. Martin to Port Canaveral, just kind of around, but there was no passengers. So me and the other acts, we didn't have anything to do. The rest of the crew's working.
So you could get off of your ship. You can get out of your cabin.
No, get out of the cabin.
At that point,
could not get off the ship for the entire 5, unless we were at the private Coco Cay, the private beach.
Right.
That was the only time we could get off the ship. But any ports, anything, home port, no. Nassau was our home port. So you're really on the ship for 5. I don't think like Billy Prudhomme, the juggler, I don't think he got off the ship. I don't think he ever went to Coco Cay. So I think he was on for 5+ months. But we didn't have any passengers, man. So it was wild. You just eating.
That's so bizarre.
And smoking cigars and doing whatever you want for a month. I was like, are you kidding? And then when the passengers came on, we only had 500 people. There were only 500 people on a ship that holds 3,500. So we had, and it was social distance. So you're in the theater, socially distant with at that show, 200 maybe, scattered. So, it was wild, man. It was a wild time.
That is crazy. That's almost like the Overlook Hotel from The Shining out at sea.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. I was sending videos to my girlfriend and walking down the hall and doing that. Come play with us, Danny. Because it would look just like that hall, and no one's there. Nobody's on the goddamn ship with me. It was wild, but
that is so bizarre. Why did they just not have passengers for that? Where they were just going through the motions of just making sure that everything was going to work the way, because the ships were essentially docked for over a year.
Right. We didn't do a test cruise. We were going to be docked out of Nassau. So it was we were following Nassau's. This way they didn't have to worry about, Florida wasn't open yet for cruising. Right. So we docked out of Nassau, but the crew had to be vaccinated, and there was a lot of crew. So they would vaccinate half of them, at one place. Then we'd sail to Port Canaveral. The other half would get vaccinated. Then we would sail for 6 days and get tested almost every day, see who got it. If you got it, you were quarantined immediately. There's a lot of that going on. I was lucky, never got it. Again, I tell you, these cigars, Derek, you smoke these cigars, people and COVID stay away from you. It's beautiful, really. You just... You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, and you've been doing cruise ships for quite a while, and we were talking before we started recording about getting when you're paired up with another comedian on the ship and the personality of that other person. What is the most annoying quality for you with another act when they're on board with you for, say, a week or a 2-week back-to-back run?
The most annoying is the new guy to the ship who, not even sometimes new, but just the guy who needs his hand held. You know what I mean? Like he wants to call. The guy will. I've had guys call me at 8 in the morning in the room. Hey, buddy, want to do breakfast? I'm like, I'm asleep. I'm going, no. And then at noon, hey, buddy, lunch? I go, well, I don't know. I'm not going to really eat. I'm just going to go to the gym. And then, oh, okay, buddy, 3 o'clock. But hey, buddy, coffee. First of all, I don't even know the guy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know him. I know this buddy shit. And, you know what I mean? Like, you know how it is. I'll have a drink with you after our show just to have a drink. I'll do that. But I don't need daytime buddy on the ship who's not a friend. Now, I've worked on the ship with, like, you know, our friend like Pat Godwin or somebody. Shit. Or you. If I was working with you, I'd hang out with you. But I don't know these guys. Right. And then I'm judgmental as shit anyway. So if I watch your act and I hate it, I'm not going to hang out with you. So, you know, there's that end of it. You know what I mean?
No, I get it. I mean, I got lucky the last I did back-to-back with Billy Guerin.
Oh, yeah, Billy's great. He's an old buddy.
We had an absolute blast. I mean, great old school guy from from Jersey, and we just had an absolute riot. But oh my god, we just laughed our ass off the whole time. But yeah, you're right. The people
that's when
are constantly,
and that's yeah. But if I don't know a guy and he's calling me 4 times a day, 5 times a day, it's like, what are you doing? And then you meet and you watch his act and you're like, oh, this is garbage. And now I was going to hang out with you anyway, but now I'm definitely not hanging out. That's this is where the cigars come in too, because these guys, these fucking queefs, they don't smoke cigars. They hate it. They hate it. And
these queefs.
Yeah, so I'll be up on the pool deck. I go, if you want to meet me, I'll text them back. I'm on the pool deck and I'm like this. And they go, whoa, okay, I'll see you tonight, buddy. Okay. I'm like, good, get out of here. Yeah.
Man, what a great way to parlay what a great way to parlay something that you enjoy into an annoying person repellent.
Yes. And COVID.
That's
I never got
great.
COVID because people won't sit next to you or near you with a cigar unless they're a cigar guy. And those people are cool anyway. So, but the average person won't sit near you. So that helped my social distancing. So I think it was all, all positive in that cigar restaurant.
I didn't see any of this being spewed by Fauci in any of his reports. So I'm very sad to not know that he had not hopped on board the cigar bandwagon.
Breaking news,
with
I'm happy to
Al Romas.
Happy to teach your listeners and your viewers. Get on those cigars and you'll be safe.
Al Romas, the new head of the CDC in Atlanta. What is because when you talk to people and you tell them you're doing cruise ships, and the first thing out of their mouth, if you're talking to just a regular person, you're like, where you at? Well, I'm doing a cruise ship and I'm going to be out in the Caribbean. And stop me if this does not happen almost every time when you tell a civilian this. They go, ooh, fancy.
Right. Yeah.
And so what's the biggest thing? And listen, first world problem. Not going to complain at all. I've had an absolute blast on working for Royal Caribbean, and then you work for them all the time, and your name's always mentioned with just nothing but compliments. So it's like, so I find myself, So I've been finding myself. I'm going to be honest. The past couple cruises, going, Al's really kind of a douchebag. Just to kind of bring you down a little bit. Yeah. Listen, I think enough with the I love Al Romas bullshit. He kicks puppies. I don't know if you know this. You don't see it on the ship, but he kicks them and then he blows cigar smoke in their face. Yeah,
that's right. I like that. Keep me humble, Derek. Thank you. Yeah.
I mean, I'm here for you. What's the thing that outside of the annoying other act that kind of gets to you a little bit when you're working on a cruise ship? Or is there any?
I don't know. I mean, I look at it. I've never done more than 2 weeks up to this COVID thing. So it was always a week or 2 weeks. So it was and I like the comedy club aspect on the bigger Oasis Symphony. A lot of guys won't do it. They're like, I don't want to work every night. And to me, the week goes very fast. Work every night. I like it. But I think probably
I'm the same way.
Maybe just the, I don't really have any complaints. I mean, I would if I had to say something, maybe go to new places because I've been in the Caribbean, which again, it sounds like a douchebag complaining, but I've been in the Caribbean for forever. I've seen Cozumel. Let's put it that way. I've seen Cozumel. But if that's my biggest complaint, oh, what the fuck, but shows are always, I think they're always great shows. Some cruise lines I've done, not as I don't like, or I won't as much, but Royal Caribbean, I really don't have any complaints about them. I like, and I like a week or 2 weeks max. That COVID thing was because of, it was unique circumstance, but I can do 2 weeks. That's not a problem. And especially in a comedy club and if I'm working with another comic who I like, that's a great week. I mean, I was doing weeks with Godwin and John Caponera and, Al Ducharme and those are, that's a blast. That's just 2 weeks of fun, really. But no real complaints. I think it's changed a lot. When I started, it was, it was being looked at by comics as that, you go there to die, your act's over, your career is over, but now it's the other way. Now everybody wants in, and there are guys doing it, new, younger guys are trying it, and, they'll find out it's not for everyone, and it can be, it's a little tough sometimes. You got to have different acts and chop up your act and do a clean and an adult, and, it's a different skill set, but, I think when guys go out and do it and do well at it, and you have an audience every night, the pay's pretty good, it's not such a bad thing.
No, definitely. Well, I think this plays into what we were talking about earlier. You starting off in Norfolk, Virginia, being in those environments with these different people where, to be honest with you, that's almost like a cruise ship audience. You've got, your drunken college kids. You have the obviously tourists. I mean, you don't have, sailors in there, but I mean, you have people that are coming in there that aren't necessarily comedy club goers. They're like, comedy show. Right. This is something we haven't done. We like to laugh. I enjoy Jeff Foxworthy. I should go see Al Romas.
Right.
And so, and some of the cruise lines too, and every cruise line's different. Some are very, very strict in terms of their content, which is why I love Royal Caribbean, as cool as they are, having so many adult comedy shows. And then they go, here's, we did 12 shows one week, and they go, okay, one show, family friendly. Right. I'm like, really? That's it? Cool.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
This is great. I can sleep through this. This is fantastic.
And Billy Guerin can break out his Cary Grant impression and bring out his wheel of impressions of people who haven't been alive in 50 years,
He did. People that don't know Billy Guerin, his big closer, he brings out this wheel, and it has I believe it's Casablanca. And he has and he's doing the characters from Casablanca. And so he was practicing it, and people need to go online and Google Billy Guerin, Garan, and I'm sure there's going to be a picture of him doing this, and it's just, the wheel had different, faces and stuff, and so he would poke his face through and do impressions of all these people.
Yeah,
it's so funny. Oh, it's hysterical. It's so funny watching him do this because he's this little 71-year-old Jersey guy, full of attitude, and he's got this big wheel in front of him spinning with these different faces. And the last night of the last back-to-back cruise that we did, the last night, he comes knocking on my door, and he's got a big Band-Aid on his nose. And I go, "What the fuck happened to you?" And he looks at me and goes, "The fucking wheel fell on my face." And so this swear to God, so this wheel is on like a mic stand, and it wasn't tightened properly, so he's spinning it going through the rehearsal, and the mic stand falls, and he's poking his head through, and the wheel comes crashing down on the bridge of his nose. So he looked like he got into a Donnybrook at Madison Square Garden with the Rangers and Flyers. And I'm laughing my ass off, and he goes, "Does it look bad?" And I go, "Hey, you got a Band-Aid on your face." But, no, I mean, for you, it looks okay. It's like, "Guy, you're an asshole."
That's great. Only in comedy can a 71-year-old man say the wheel fell on my face. You know what I mean? Like, what you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck is that?
So fucking funny. You got a book that you wrote a couple years ago called How About a Hand for the Last Guy?
Yeah.
Which is available on Amazon right now. There it is. Ta-da, look at you in all your glory. My 25 plus years in the stand-up comedy trenches with Seinfeld, Fallon, Leno, and many others. You can grab it on Amazon. It has tremendous reviews. I don't know if you saw. If you looked recently, you've got probably almost 60 reviews, like 4.8 stars. It would have been 5, but I put the 4-star review to kind of bring you down a little bit.
Derek comes back in again to shit on me. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
No. Nothing but fantastic reviews on the book. What got you motivated to put this thing together?
I was early on a cruise. Like, I started cruising, and I can't remember a guy's name. I'd love to give him credit. It was a opening act. He wrote a book called Opening Act, and it was like an ebook, self-published on Amazon. Guy out of the Northeast, but anyway, I read his book while I was out there because, again, the internet was brand new and there wasn't much happening, or the ship didn't have it well. So I was reading books, and I read his book, and I thought, well, that's pretty cool. Like, and then I thought, well, I just kind of opened up my computer and thought, let me just try to put a couple of things together. And it just came from a summer of being on ships. Every time I go on a ship, it'd be in my room and be like, I'll try to write another chapter, a story, and then by the end of the summer, I looked at it and thought I had a book, and got it on Amazon, and it's pretty good. It's sold over the years like really well, where I would be on a ship, and especially on a ship where I would do a show, welcome aboard or something, and they would mention the book, and then I'd be walking around like up at the pool, and someone goes, "Hey, I'm reading your book." "Hey, man, they would just download it on their cruise and read it while cool. I'm still with them. So yeah, it did well, but it was fun to do. It killed the summer, which was great, of cruising, something to do,
right?
And that was it. So yeah, it's been
well, and it's good to go back and it's good to go back and recycle those memories that I'm sure it's probably a lot of stuff that you had forgotten about, and so now you're going, oh, I remember the time when blank happened. So I mean, obviously, you talk about the time that you worked with Seinfeld, and then the Jimmy Fallon story when he was 17. What about Jay Leno?
Well, Leno, I was a huge fan in the 80s, when he was on Letterman, and that's when I was really wanted to be a comic, and I thought he was the best. And I was on Long Island, probably on leave from the Navy, or maybe I just got out of the Navy, and he was at Governor's in Levittown, and he plugged it on Letterman. So I was telling my friends, I go, we got to go see Leno. So we bought tickets, and we were hanging outside, and he pulls up on his motorcycle. I mean, it's like the coolest fucking thing. He just pulls up on a big chopper and he jumps off and does 2 hours, and it was amazing. So we had a table in the middle of the room, and I'm a douche. I've never seen live comedy really in a comedy club. And and I have a bunch of drinks in me, and I brought my camera. I had a disc. Remember those disc cameras, Kodak? It was like it was a fucking disc. Yeah.
I remember
I had one of those. So I had one. And so Leno's on stage, and I'm clicking away. I'm just 3 feet from the stage, and I'm like, click, 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 like the worst kind of audience member. Click, click. And Jay stops, and he goes, "Hey, what's going on here? What are you taking my picture for?" And I go, "Oh, no, man, I'm having a great time. Just taking your picture." He goes, "Give me that fucking thing." Or you didn't say fuck, but give me that thing. And he's holding my camera on stage, and he goes, "What is this? What a desk? What you get this at a fill up at Sunoco? What is this?" And people are now. I'm standing. The audience is laughing. Jay's roasting me and my dumb camera. So finally, he gives it back to me. I sit down, and I'm humiliated, but had a great time. And after the show, he was hanging out at the bar, and I was walking out, and then he saw me, and he goes, "Hey, hey, get over here! The guy with the shitty camera, come on, get over here!" And we took some pictures, and I got to hang out and talk to him about comedy, even though I wasn't a comic, or I was doing open mics, but barely knew what I was doing at all. And I talked to him about comedy. He was telling me about the road, just going on the road, how he does it, and took some pictures. And I still have the pictures in the book of me and Jay at Governors in 1986 or 87. But yeah, it was great. But I mean, I look back, and so whenever an audience member does something dumb, I try to remember, I was there. That was me.
What's
I did
the
that.
what's one of the most bizarre or insane experiences that you've had on stage with an audience member?
Just a month ago, I was at Visani's. I'm sure you've been there in Port Charlotte.
In Port Charlotte, Florida. Yep.
Great club. I was on stage. The middle act and the MC went up, and yeah, did okay, but it was kind of quiet. Like, those audiences can be really good, and it was kind of quiet. And I thought, I think they're going to be good. I don't know. These guys just didn't get them going. So I went up,
Right.
and after a few minutes, it wasn't anything great. And there was a guy in the front, and he wasn't looking at me. He had glasses on, but he wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the wall. He was staring at the wall. And I thought, I'm going to talk to this guy and get this whole crowd involved and going. So I said, "Hey, why don't you look at me? I'm up on stage, and turn your head. What the hell? Why, look, I'm the show." And his buddy goes, "He's blind." And yeah, a real blind guy in the front with glasses, So I repeat that, and the crowd's getting, ooh, thinking I'm not going to be able to get out of this. But then it became so much fun. And then I started all the, I'm like, "Where's your dog? How come you're not wearing sunglasses? How dare you wear regular glasses and fool me? Why are you wasting a good seat in the front? Somebody in the back could be sitting there. You could sit anywhere. Why are you here?" All this shit. So it goes on. And now the crowd, you know how it goes. The crowd now, they're into me, and it's great. It's going great. So now I do a joke later in my act. I do a joke where I talk about Paul McCartney's ex-wife, and she had one leg, So I go, so I do the punchline, and then it's one leg. And then his friend, the blind guy's friend, goes, only so I could hear it, because at the front table, he goes, "He has one leg." And I go, "What?" I go, "The blind guy has one leg?" And as I'm saying it, the blind guy takes his prosthetic off, and he's showing it to me. It's a leg and a sneaker. So I go, "Whoa, let me have that." And I reach down, I grab it, and I raise it above my head. And I'm like, "The blind guy's got one leg. What the fuck? How could that be possible?" Derek, this crowd, the noise level is unreal. Eric, the owner, is in the back in his office. He said the walls shook. He ran out. He didn't know what was happening to the club.
Right.
The kitchen staff all were in that hallway watching. They all came out with their knives and their shit. Just no one knew, because it was so fucking loud in there. It was unbelievable. They'll never heard anything like it. I got the guy's leg. I'm thanking the club for this trophy. I'm doing all this weird shit. The crowd is just eating it up. They can't. But then as a comic in my head, I'm thinking, because this is as good as you can ever do. I go,
right.
I got 20 more. I got 20 more minutes. I gotta follow this. I gotta follow this.
Yeah.
So I hand the guy his leg back, and I kind of take a sip of beer. I brought a beer on. I take a sip. I'm calming the crowd down a little. Like, I'm letting them know, like, that's really as good as it's going to get, but we'll continue. So I continue on. And then in my head, I realize I have a bit about restless legs. Holy shit. So now I go into the restless legs bit, and then I go, "Hey, fucker, you don't have anything to worry about." And again, the crowd just goes insane. Now he's back in the show. And yeah, it was It was unreal. It was one of those where Eric comes running out. He's got tears. He's like, do we have video? Does anyone have video? Anyone? Do we have? And no one had video. We have a bunch of pictures of me, holding the leg and that whole thing.
Yeah, because I
no
think on your Instagram page. Yeah, on your Instagram page, you had you're holding the leg up, and I remember the caption on the bottom said you had to be there.
Right. I mean, how do you explain that in a comment? I mean, I can't. No, you had to be there, and it was one of those nights where, luckily, like my girlfriend was there. She had never seen me perform. She was there first time, and buddies from a cigar club in Punta Gorda came out, and they were at that show.
Right.
And they're still literally texting every now and go, we were talking about it again last night. That was so fucking funny. And it was just one of those things. You can never capture it again. But yeah, that was the best.
That's beautiful. Now, when you get a moment like that, but yeah, like you said, you're going through the motions of this whole thing, and you're like, this is incredible. And then you get done, you're like, oh, that was my free bird. Fuck. Yeah. That was my encore. Yes. Shit.
Yeah. If I could have ended on that, they would have carried me out of there. If I had said goodnight.
Done.
I mean, literally. But, you go, I'm looking at my watch. Oh, I got 20 minutes left. Jesus. And then it's okay, but good. But that's all they remember anyway. You did that 20 after. Right. Didn't matter. Everyone was just like, and then people thought he was a plant. Like, I love how people can't give you credit for being funny. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. They're like,
yeah. Is that a friend of yours? Yes. Yes. I take my blind one-legged friend with me everywhere I go.
I travel everywhere.
That's my Walter.
Yes.
This is my Al Romas Carrot Top impression. I don't bring a trunk full of props. I bring a one-legged blind guy that I found on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
Oh man,
people are unbelievable.
You are.
And it was interesting too. The comic I worked with, the opener, was very young, and he said it was interesting because he said to me, he couldn't believe the show, and then he was like, "I don't think I would have." He goes, because he's so new and politically correct and all that. He goes, I don't think I would have said blind. He goes, I wouldn't have got anywhere in those laughs because I would not have said blind. He goes, blind, that's a tough word, blind. I'm like, well, what is he? He's blind.
He's blind.
I mean, he's blind. What are you talking about? This isn't Brooklyn with 20-year-old, people here. This is fucking Port Charlotte. They know what blind is. And I said it. And the more I said blind, the funnier it was because it was just over the top. And
sure,
he's blind. I don't know what else to say. I wouldn't even know what to say if I wouldn't say blind. So,
visually challenged. Is that would that have been the more politically correct approach to take? Stupid.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable. And he wasn't saying it like I was. He was telling me like, he goes, it sucks. I would not have said blind. I would have not had any of those laughs. And I go, well, you just got to go with it, man. You can't be thinking, I wonder what would be the right thing to say in this situation. Just fucking say it. And he was blind. I don't think it's a bad word, but I don't know.
Well, and I think a lot of newer acts or acts that are trying to come into this business now in this environment and just this culture of you can't say anything that's going to be construed as offensive. And again, blind's not offensive. The guy's fucking blind. So
he's blind,
but they're so classically conditioned in this little box that they're just scared to death. And I think once you have that fear, and you try to say something, but you're reticent at all. I mean, the audience smells it.
Nah, it's over. Yeah,
and exactly. It's like for you going up there, going, fuck it, he's blind and he's got one leg. Now you're like Game of Thrones. I won.
Yeah.
So that is you because you just come out there and anybody that's seen your act, I mean, you're just a machine gun and you're hilarious, and you just don't have any fear, and so the fact that you have that attitude of just like, listen, I don't give a shit. This is this is funny. You're not being mean to somebody. It's just fucking funny.
Right. Exactly. Just trying to get laughs and not. I think anytime you think about something, whether it's crowd work or a bit or just if you're thinking too much on it, you're losing the funny. You just got to go with it and trust yourself that you're not. I'm not like a racist, or I'm not an angry about. So nothing's going to come out bad.
Right.
But if we get to the point where I can't say the guy's blind, then I don't know what I'll do, because that's just, he's blind, And this guy was loving it. I mean, if he was fucking loving it, he was punching the table. He couldn't have had a better time. His friends wrote to me on Facebook about he just had the best time, the greatest time. It was, and I go, that was great. So now, if I had said shit like that and he was sitting there stone faced or looked sad, maybe I don't continue. Right. But when he was laughing, I was pouring it on, and he couldn't get enough of it. So
that's beautiful.
It all worked.
No, that's funny as hell. Well, people looking to see Al Romas, of course, he is on Royal Caribbean quite a bit on the cruise line, also at McCurdy's Comedy Club. As this podcast airs, you will be at McCurdy's through what's Sunday, Sunday, January 9th. Is when you're going to be there. Yep. Mm-hmm. Through Sunday, January 9th. You do play a lot of the clubs in Florida, such as Visani's Dinner Theater in Port Charlotte, Florida. And like I said, all the Royal Caribbean ships here. And Two Dicks Comedy, the Talking Dicks. See, now I'm saying Two Dicks. The Talking Dicks Comedy Podcast. Go on. I know. I'm stuck. I got two dicks in my brain. That's again not something else you can never say. I've heard. The Talking Dicks Comedy Podcast. Also, grab a copy of his book. How About a Hand for the Last Guy? Now, a couple random questions. Fill in the blank here as we wrap this up. All right. Totally off the. There's no wrong answers. Just dumb ones. So here we go. Okay. You own a strip club. What would you name it?
What would I name the strip club? How about
your strip club?
How about it'd be a B grade strip club, probably. Maybe Dimples. I think Dimples.
Everything at the gender reveal party was boring until blank happened.
Oh, well, probably until the couple blew themselves up. Then that was fun. I like when that happens, because those are so dumb. I mean, can you be dumber? Who gives a shit about your kid? I don't understand it. If I don't care if you have a boy or a girl. That's for you. I don't care. So blow yourselves up doing it, dummies. I don't care.
I love you. Best part of going to jail would be blank.
Best part of going to jail, I don't know. I mean, I would, we do the cruises. It's we're alone a lot in the cabin. The food is better, I think, on the cruise than the jail. So I like some solitude every now and then, but I don't, so I would say solitude and get in my own head and relax. Sure. But the anal rape part, I think, would be a downer. So I'm not a fan.
Women describe you as blank in the bedroom.
A wildcat. A wildcat.
I like that. Good. Put that on your Tinder profile. Al Romas, thanks so much, buddy. Can't wait to see you in person. Hopefully get a chance to work out on the ships here sometime soon. But again, thank you so much for your time. Check out his podcast, the Talking Dicks Comedy Podcast, and grab his book, How About a Hand for the Last Guy. Find it on Amazon. It has tremendous reviews. Al is hilarious. Thanks so much, my friend. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Derek. Great seeing you. Take care.
Happy New Year, bud. Al Romas, comedian, here on A Drink with Derek. Can't thank him enough for his time. Again, check out his book, How About a Hand for the Last Guy, available on Amazon. Also, see Al when he comes to your neck of the woods if you're traveling on Royal Caribbean cruises. Again, he is on there all the time on a number of different ships. So do not miss his shows. Always, always hysterical. Huge thanks to our sponsors, VegasSportsAdvantage.com. If you're going to bet sports, hook up with these guys first. Type in the promo code Derek35, get 35% off any of the packages that they offer. Also, grab a copy of my album, Double Down, wherever you download your music or your comedy, iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon. And also the Irish Comedy Tour. Check us out. We're going to be on the road. We got a couple of new guys joining us for this tour. We've got Patrick Garrity hooking up with us for the first 3 shows. And then comedian Michael Malone is going to join us for the rest of them. starting in Port Charlotte and then working our way through the Northeast, the IrishComedyTour.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. NewTakes.tv. Love you guys. Make sure you go on their platform and see all the podcasts and content that they have, which is just some funny, good quality stuff. The Freedom Chronicles, a number of other podcasts as well. NewTakes.tv. This is Derek Richards in Las Vegas. Thank you so much. I am going to be at Traverse City Comedy Club January 28th and 29th. Traverse City, Michigan. Head up there. It's worth the trip. Trust me. There's cherries. There's snow. There's a lake. And I'm going to be there. January 28th, 29th. Traverse City Comedy Club, Traverse City, Michigan. Thanks so much for listening, watching. See you next time. Bye.